And let's start indeed with that suspect, Charlotte. What's known about him? Because I see more and more emerging about this person.
It's a very complicated picture. We'll start off by saying that this has not been officially confirmed. However, law enforcement agencies close to the investigation, 3 different law enforcement agents, have said to media outlets in the US and globally that the name of the suspect is Ryan Ruth. He's a 58-year-old who currently resides in Hawaii but has previous addresses in North Carolina where a property was being searched overnight. We understand that he has had many brushes with the law, some about evading taxes, and also there was an incident involving a firearm and he barricaded himself inside a business. So really a man who seems to have had a checkered history. And we understand if this is the man that is currently in custody, he is going to have a mental health assessment. That's quite a normal process when there is an attempted assassination being looked into. This is a man who is a former Trump supporter, says online that he voted for Donald Trump back in 2016 and since then has turned 180, becoming incredibly critical of Donald Trump over the last few years, and particularly the last few months, posting many times on social media, particularly about the Ryan Routh's support himself for Ukraine in regards to the Ukraine war. We know he has talked about visiting Kiev, and there's also reports in the media that he visited the front lines in Ukraine, meeting Ukrainian soldiers. In fact, he has given many interviews to media outlets about his hatred for Russia, Ewan. Let's just have a listen to one of them.
To me, a lot of the other conflicts are gray, but this conflict is definitely black and white. This is about good versus evil. This is a storybook, any movie we've ever watched. This is definitely evil against good. I mean, we're battling a situation here where, the Ukrainians and the rest of the world are caring and kind and generous and unselfish and take care of one another. And Russia does not grasp this concept that we're all one unit and we have to get along and work together and be normal human beings. This is 2022. We have to work together.
Well, there's an understanding that he visited Ukraine back in 2022, just after the conflict restarted, so to speak. And we understand that he has been involved in protests. In fact, we have videos of him at a protest in Ukraine. This was a protest that was in support of the notorious far-right neo-Nazi Azov battalion. It's not known if he understood about that, but at the time, this was a battalion that was still being banned by the US for its extreme views. And he was at that protest holding a placard, and you can just make out the words "End Russia" on his placard. So I think it's very clear what his position is on all of this. He's also been accused of actively trying to recruit individuals to go and fight for the Ukraine army.
That's incredibly deep, isn't it? His involvement here, suspected involvement.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a video of this. This is specifically Afghan conscripts, and he himself is apparently said to have said that he was an off-the-book agent for the Ukrainian army. That's not confirmed. That's what he is saying. We've even got the documentary proof of that doing that. And I just want to bring you a grab now showing him attempting to recruit individuals.
Okay.
Ukraine is reluctant to be cooperative.
That's Ryan Ruth, a U.S. citizen who set up the International Volunteer Center in Ukraine to help connect foreigners to Ukrainian military units.
Now I'm talking to over 100 soldiers every day, and pretty much everybody, all of my contacts in Ukraine, they were adamant and pretty much yelled at me every time that I suggested that we bring in Afghans.
Given what we know about this suspect, there are so many questions to be asked about. Was he on any watch lists in the US? And that's not just us asking those questions. Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene is also saying, the US government knows who goes to Ukraine, what they're doing, where they're doing. Why is this guy not somebody who is being watched by the intelligence services, given it, particularly over the last few months? We have seen so much vitriol from him on social media about his hatred for Trump, about his support for Ukraine. And that's a question that we're also hearing from former NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden.
Alleged Trump shooters' personal and public participation in military activity in Ukraine, it is hard to imagine this White House's agencies can claim zero contact, clean hands. Something of an Oswald vibe here. Congress should get answers.
This is the second attempt in 9 weeks on Donald Trump's life. We are about 7 weeks away from November's election. This is a pretty incredible position to be in just before a US election, and it begs so many questions.
Can I ask as well, the reaction from, I suppose, the US political establishment has, as you say, he's running for office again, Kamala Harris, up against him for the Democrats. Has she come out and said anything?
Yeah, in fact, we've heard from both her and the current president, Joe Biden, both saying that they're disturbed by what's happened, but not really going in too much. I suppose they don't want to give this story a huge amount of oxygen. We saw what a big boost in the polls Trump had following the previous assassination attempt on him. But there are questions now on many sides about how this person also knew that Trump was going to be where he was. Yes, this is a golf club owned by Trump. Yes, it's down the road from Mar-a-Lago, which is his primary residence. But this was not on his public schedule. And according to those inside the Trump camp, this was a last-minute decision. So you have to question what kind of sources this suspected individual had to set up in the hope that he would get that close to Donald Trump. Now, we're also hearing questions from both sides of the divides, Republicans and Democrats, really questioning that, how he was able to get that close. Let's have a listen to what they've said.
The state of Florida will be conducting its own investigation regarding the attempted assassination at Trump International Golf Club. The people deserve the truth about the would-be assassin and how he was able to get within 500 yards of the former president and current Republican nominee.
I'm deeply concerned, quite frankly, for the former president's safety. The Secret Service has a lot to explain how an individual able to get yet again in this close to the former president.
This rhetoric against President Trump, this narrative that he will be the next dictator, that he is the next Hitler coming, it has got to stop. Enough is enough.
And you're hearing there about the end about that question again, that demonization of Trump, because there's huge negative coverage of him, particularly in the US media. And I think what's really interesting now is we've got a situation where we know this apparent would-be assassin is heavily in support of Ukraine in the war, has been heavily critical of Trump. I think we need to look at the fact that in the last week, we have heard quite clearly what Trump's plans would be if he won the election in November. He has said that the areas that voted to be part of Russia in the last few years would remain in Russia. He said that Ukraine would not become a member of NATO. It would stay neutral. And I think, you know, it's fair to question why this attempted assassination has come now when we've only heard that information about what Trump's clear position is on Ukraine in the last week.
Yeah, you see a lot of questions